My name is Luke and I'm currently on my placement year during my Computer Science of Management degree from King's College London. And I've got good news for you. By looking into internships, you are taking the first step to skyrocketing the trajectory of your career. Now, given my experience, I thought I'd come on camera and just talk a little bit about why to do a placement, my experience finding a placement, and finally, my experience over the last year actually doing it. When I was looking for degrees, I was looking on the King's College website. Of course, I saw the computer science degree. However, there was an extra option to do it with a year in industry. So long story short, I went ahead with it. Of course, you don't have to start searching for a placement super early. It happens in your third year. So you only really have to start worrying about it at the start of the second year. And my experience applying for placements was, in one word, painful. And this is because competition is just so vast. However, even if you don't get a placement by the end of the search, you still have experience. You're going to have to go through interview processes, assessment centres, and everything in between. And this just gives you a wealth of experience that other people in the future just won't have. If you want my advice, unfortunately, it's just very much a numbers game. So even if you might have your preferred placement at a preferred company, of course, still go for it. But I would implore you to throw as many darts at the board and one of them will surely stick. And the good news is I was very fortunate to be able to secure a placement. And I am so glad that I had the perseverance and persistence to get through all of the processes and actually bag one. I've been doing my placement at a cybersecurity company, which focuses on trying to improve human layer security. And I've been working in their technical services department. And this is when the customer purchases the product, the process gets handed over to technical services, whose job it is to basically integrate the solution into the customer's architecture. And I have to say, the experience as a whole has changed my professional life. The value that you get out of a placement is just unparalleled. You can't really get the same level of experience and exposure in any other way. It has to be this medium. And I suppose that the biggest way that it's done this is that it's put me outside of my comfort zone. I'd never worked in a corporate structure before. A lot of the situations that I was finding myself in were extremely alien, but as I said, it gave me that first exposure, and especially when shadowing others, it taught me exactly how to best approach those situations. And then over time, I just became as capable as the guys I was surrounding myself with. And look, as we all know, the only way to getting better is practice, 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 and putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. And that's exactly the environment that, in my experience, a placement provides. And I think this is exacerbated by the fact that in my placement, I wasn't treated as an intern. I was wholeheartedly part of the team, and this just led to absolute camaraderie. The relationships that I've built at this internship will, in most cases, last me the rest of my career. And it's also true that I've been fortunate in this specific placement to be able to work both internally and externally with customers as per the normal role of the department. Even though I was technically drafted to be part of this technical services department, I did end up getting involved with a lot more than I perhaps initially thought. The first thing that I was doing, again, I was taking on the same work as the team that I was involved in. So I was doing deployments, I was mapping our solutions to customers' architecture. Secondly, I was also owning certain processes. So one of the items was their inbox system. Sounds very mundane, and trust me, that is the one word I've not used to describe it. But as a result of that, it actually built an entire department around that function. And I was very much integral into deciding some of the processes, building some of the reporting and the key performance indicators behind that department, which will continue to thrive, hopefully, and go forward with my absence. And the third point I've got here is improving internal processes. This gave me absolute visuals on the entire structure of the organization. And on many occasions, I was more or less asked to review a certain structure and see how we could improve it. So it's very much a business analyst role. And I think the best thing about this point is that a lot of the time it required me to work with other departments, which again aids with the visibility and just gives me a lot more experience than I was perhaps initially thinking. And the final point that I've got here is that I became the go-to for certain processes. And this point specifically cannot be understated. Becoming the go-to and becoming a subject matter expert is no easy feat. And being in this position in my internship year just showed me how much value someone can actually add in a year outside of university. So in terms of the flow of the experience, it was very much a pyramid with 4 sections. And the first category is knowledge transfer. And that was, in my case, the first week of my placement. And this is when I spent time with the previous placement student, going through the processes that she had been doing, telling me exactly how to do them. And after that, I feel comes the introductory category, which is essentially for the first 3 months where you're grasping the basics of the job. So the third category is getting involved, and this is basically the steep learning curve part of the experience, which is around 4 to 5 months in. This is where it really got intense, but when things get intense, when you start struggling, that's when you know you are making progress. And I think it's after that point that the benefits of doing a placement really show themselves. And the fourth and final stage, I like to call it involved. You'll know what you're doing and you're working to achieve it. I had internalized exactly what the business was doing and how they were doing it. And now I was just working very hard to get further to that objective. So hopefully through my experience, you're starting to see the benefits of doing a placement. And I suppose the main point is putting you outside of your comfort zone, which even though some people might find it a little bit painful, it will 100% make you more capable and confident in the future. And the second big point here is exposure. It shows you exactly what you like doing and what you don't like doing. So again, you can make better informed decisions in the future. Relationships. My team is absolutely fantastic, and I have no doubt that I'm going to know some of these people for potentially the rest of my life. I've worked a lot with other teams such as the sales team, sales operations, and the architecture team. And those relationships, though mostly professional, are very interesting to have, as you can see exactly how personalities of different departments work together. The next point is knowledge and insight into business. So this specific business is called a SaaS business, software as a service. And this wasn't really a business model that I was very acquainted with before my placement, but now I understand exactly how it works. And if I were to jump to another SaaS business, I would more than likely be able to fit in a lot quicker. And even if we did go, or if I did go to a different company, even just seeing a business in action in sort of a previous work environment in a placement, I think you'd be able to pick up and understand exactly how everything works together a lot quicker than if you're just going in with fresh eyes. So that point specifically cannot be overlooked. This next one is relevant skills. And no matter what placement you do, you're going to do what the job entails. So in my instance, with technical services, it was deploying products, and that's exactly what I did. So I got those relevant skills, and all of this is really untaught stuff. So in university, you learn base knowledge, but it's not fully expansive and complete. There are things in industry that will typically be a little bit different, always evolving. So it's really important to understand this stuff, to actually be able to apply the skills that you learn in university to a real life context. The next one on my list is presentation skills. I am historically terrible at presentations. I've never liked delivering them. However, over the 10 months or so, I have been tasked with delivering quite a few number of presentations to different departments, both internally and externally. And again, the more you exercise these things, the more you train them, the better you become. Next one is adaptiveness. Adaptiveness is something that you need in any job. In this specific company, you have to be very adaptable. You have to have quite a wide skill set. And some of the skills that were required during this placement aren't exactly things that you're going to be practicing in your day-to-day life. And in summary, a placement just really helps you to hone in your skills of adaptiveness, show you exactly how to respond to a wide array of situations so you can always be prepared in the future. And the final point that I have here is personal confidence. And I suppose this wraps everything up into one neat little package. All of the things, all of the benefits that I've talked about really come down to confidence. Confidence is just how capable you feel internally about what you're doing. Through doing the placement, you just feel a lot more capable. You legitimately become a lot more capable and knowledgeable. Therefore, that increases your personal confidence. And quite honestly, if you're not convinced to do a placement now, then I'm not sure exactly what will. The final thing that I want to talk about are placement finding tips, specifically where you should get your placement. So I'd say that the best thing to do is go towards medium to small size businesses. And this is because of the flexibility of tasks that they give you. Flexibility gives you exposure to a lot of different things, see what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And if you are good at those things, if you build up that experience, then that does make you a lot more confident. So I think with the flexibility of a medium to small size business, you are getting the best return on investment for your year as possible. In regards to larger companies, of course, I don't have any formal experience, but I have been reliably informed. Typically, you're going to be able to get less involved in items that are outside of your remit. And for a full-time job, this might be, for some people, a better and more structured experience. However, in your placement, I would advocate that you try to do as much as possible for all the aforementioned reasons. Especially since when you do have that flexibility of tasks, it allows you to better show your worth, show your value, show exactly what you're capable of, which in my specific placement led to me working alongside senior figures to deliver projects with a company-wide impact. Being involved in something like that, or many things like that during your placement, is an absolute unparalleled experience, and I'm relatively sure that that sort of opportunity would not present itself in a larger company. So the second thing I'd implore you to look into when finding a placement is a playground to improve soft skills. So as I've talked about, I think some of the biggest takeaways from my placement specifically have been improved presentations and improved business communications. Depending on what position you're actually going for, it might be a different level of exposure you get to those skills. And I think they are some of the most important skills that a person could learn in a professional capacity. So of course, it might not be for everyone. You might really not want to do that for a career. However, I would say that if you're looking to get up there, if you're looking to try and get as high as possible, then you should try and find a placement that will force you to improve some of these more soft skills. My number 3 piece of advice when talking about looking for a placement is to use it as an opportunity to trial a career. A placement is not your final career. You can always change path if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't like the environment, if you don't like the company, you can always change it. You're only there for a year. So bear it in mind, use it to perhaps, if you really want to, try out something that you weren't specifically looking towards. That's exactly what I did. I had no idea what technical services was, but it sounded good, it sounded up my street, and I used it to trial the career. Maybe I found out that technical services wasn't for me, but that's good because I wouldn't know unless I tried. What's true for all placements is don't hesitate. I implore you to try your hardest to get one of these experiences. The job market is becoming ever more crowded, and in my opinion, it is not enough to just have a degree from a good university anymore. An experience like this won't just legitimately improve you, but it will also, in a lot of cases, move your CV to the top of the pile. And in some situations, you might not even have to worry about that. Companies always want to keep good people, they want to retain them, so you are potentially likely to receive an offer from your placement. Make sure to head over to heroandvillainstyle.com/placement for more information about my experience and how a placement will help you in the future.